Excellent. Okay, so that took us a little longer than 12 seconds. All right, so we're going to go through this really quickly. Quick note, since AI seems to be kind of the thing, this wasn't really the reason why, but some of these images are AI generated. They're going to be part of the slides. So if some of them look like they have some weird shapes and colors, blame AI, not me. Yeah. Also, seeing as I'm the last talk, I'm going to try and land the ship. And since this is a talk somewhat about DevOps, this is a container ship, and we've put the developers inside the containers. So we're going to kind of continue that conspiracy theory that Baruch so kindly put out there. We're just going to keep them in the containers. We're just going to talk about ops. Not really. So developer experience. From the simplicity of the setup process to the complexity of solving the different production issues we might come in contact with, developer experience really directly impacts the developer productivity, the satisfaction, ultimately the quality of the products that they're building and using. DevEX itself is it's an integral part of the entire development lifecycle. It's a direct result of the choices that are made around the development tools, the technologies, the platforms that are going to be used, which means that the ease of use, reliability, how accessible, understandable, the documentation is, how efficient build processes are. All of those things kind of translate into that overall developer experience. And my computer wants to, there. That doesn't want to work. Okay, so we're going to move this. There. So yes, name is Jeremy Meiss. Have a startup, developer DevEX Institute, co-founder with a friend of mine, also DevEX and DevRel consultant. I've been doing DevRel and stuff for 15 years. Also, as mentioned, a bunch of tech. You can find me on Twitter, and I'll have a couple other links afterwards, including links to this presentation. So, all right, so we're going to start with kind of a definition of developer experience. It is that journey developers have as they learn and deploy technology. When it's successful, it is going to focus very much on eliminating all those obstacles that are hindering a developer from being successful or a practitioner from achieving that success in whatever they're trying to achieve, whether that's in an application or in something on the back end. Now, it is also about every interaction a developer has with those systems, the tools, the processes. We can all probably think about a tool or a service that we've had a positive experience. Also, some that we haven't had a good experience with. I'm sure some have seen this and look of how it doesn't always work the way we want it to. But I'm going to go through kind of an example of how developer experience has kind of evolved a certain set of tools and practices that we kind of take for granted today. So the IDE, the Integrated Developer Environment, prior to the 90s, you mostly had text-based editors. Things like Vi, which according to this, I always thought it was Vi, but according to this, we should have been calling it Six. It was created in 1976. It was included in the first BSD Linux release back in 80, I believe. Who all used Vi? Okay, there's one, two of us. When I name a tool, if you can just raise your hand, it's going to be kind of helpful. Also, kind of wake everybody up. We're going to go through a bunch of tools here really quickly. Then we had Emacs in 1985. Whoever used Emacs, again, same people migrated. Vim in 91. Groaningly, somebody had Vim. My personal favorite was Nano. Still kind of is whenever I need to edit text. And not entirely because I can exit it without throwing the computer out the window, and then having to go and purchase a new computer just to, do whatever I'm doing if I'm trying to use Vim. So I'm going to save the planet, one less computer thrown away by just using something like Nano. But one of the first IDEs that had kind of this plug-in concept where you could kind of integrate different tools and shortcuts was HP SoftBench. Does anybody remember HP SoftBench? Probably nobody. It was released in 1989. It was one of the first plug-in IDEs. It shipped with its own library and was extensively talked about in the June 1990 edition of the HP Journal, which they sent out for, I think it was about 40 years worth. It might have been longer. Fascinating read. lays out their vision of what software architecture and development should be, including, this was in 1990, including things like automated testing, distributed computing, integrated and interchangeable tools. All of this was HP themselves laying out things that we're doing now. The link to the PDF is actually in the slides, but I'm going to tweet these out, and you can go in and read it. I really encourage you to check that out. Early reviews of IDEs themselves weren't really great. The Computer Week in Germany commented that the use of an IDE was not well received by developers, since it would focus on, it would fence in their creativity, which is, not a great review of what IDEs could be. We had some native IDEs that allowed you to kind of develop in the actual environment you were using your computer in. Turbo Pascal, 1983, okay, good, got a couple more. Apple's Macintosh Programmer Workshop in 86, nobody, good. Okay, good. Borland Delphi, who remembers Delphi? Okay, the same two people, actually, I think is, one added one. All right, good, so there's a few more of us that aren't just graybeards. Who here knew that Delphi is still around? Okay, one, somebody that's never used it. Embarcadero Delphi, it's actually version 12 now. They purchased it, or Borland got rid of it, and now it's in something else. So anyways, that's still around. Launch of the World Wide Web, the explosion of the graphical user interface to start building websites. The first one, anyone remember SGI's WebMagic? Nobody, okay. Or maybe somebody did. That was released January 25th of 1995. And it was actually built in 90 days, which was an extraordinary feat. I also have a link in the slides to that whole story, which is a fascinating story. Microsoft released Front Page. Yeah, there you go. That came out in October of the same year, after Microsoft purchased it from Vermeer, and then they rebadged it or rebranded it and said, hey, we built an IDE. Macromedia's Dreamweaver. 97, there's some more hands, those are hands. They actually purchased that from iBand in 1996, and it was called Backstage. Who knew? It was also one of the first kind of community-driven type of tools. All of Macromedia's products at that time where you could actually build out your own tools and scripts and configs and all different types of plugins and share them with the community, and you could then use them in the tool. Front Page 2000 for Microsoft. There's a few other hands. Saw the first inclusion of plugins and things that were going to make and integrations to make web management easier. Front Page server extensions came out at the same time. NetBeans for Java, IntelliJ, Eclipse, hands, whee! All of those were kind of, and even Visual Studio at the time, they all started to allow for a lot more enhanced functionality, more sophisticated features with some integrated code completion, refactoring tools, version control, all those different things started to come in. Saw a noticeable increase of multiple languages being supported, different frameworks, all of those making them more versatile. Then we saw things like Sublime Text and Atom, Visual Studio Code all came out. A lot more lightweight, focusing on a lot more speed, user-friendly interfaces and things that could be customized. Broader range of developers were now catered to. Less resource-intensive and more customizable, like I said. And then the cloud-based. Code Anywhere that was mentioned earlier, fantastic. That first came out in 2009. Then AWS Cloud 9, Gitpod, GitHub code spaces all kind of came out, revolutionized, I think, a lot of the developer experience around like fully configured development environments in the cloud, where you could access them anywhere, reducing the need to have kind of a complex local setup. So we went from this, where things weren't, we didn't know we needed, fencing in creativity, to things like this, where now all of these are now like commonplace. We have to have something that can do code completion and syntax and debugging and pair programming ability and all these different tools. No longer using FTP to push out. You have version control systems. So I go through all of that to really illustrate how the developer experience itself has kind of evolved over time and has by the very nature of that kind of moved along software development and the things that we do now. Things we didn't know back then in the 60s is now really commonplace, and you pretty much have to have it now in the 2020s in order to actually choose a tool that you want to use. So modern development, the IDE is just one example of that, of the significant strides that we make in improving that developer experience. The strategies that we have that have kind of seen within business have really evolved to meet those contemporary challenges that we've seen, all the different opportunities that are presented, from the basic kind of manually configured environments to now sophisticated cloud-based, automated setups. That the journey reflects this relentless pursuit of trying to be more efficient, have things that are more usable, and developer productivity, which Brooke touched on earlier. So another quick example is kind of when we think about setting up environments, whether it be a dev or a production environment. Early days, setting up that environment really involved manually configuring each tool, each library, all the dependencies. That was all very time-consuming and was very error-prone. Devs often really we struggled with version conflicts and compatibility issues that would pop up with the different tools and libraries, different versions and such. And so in the mid to late 90s, there were systems like, there it is, CF Engine. Who remembers CF Engine? Okay, nobody with an ops background. What about version 2? No, probably not. Those kind of started to come out to automate that process of setting those things up. Then we had like Puppet and Chef and SaltStack, Ansible. All of those things came out to start to automate the setup and configuration of your development environments, reducing a lot of the manual effort that were needed. Docker came out. We really kind of revolutionized how we allowed developers to package up applications and with all the dependencies that were needed, putting them into containers that you could easily kind of deploy in different environments and streamline that whole process. Then tools like Terraform, CloudFormation from AWS. You have those things that enable developers to really define the infrastructure through code, making setup something that could be reproduced really quickly and could scale as needed. And then we had integration of development environments with your CI/CD pipelines. You got Jenkins, you've got GitHub Actions. Those kind of practices streamline that whole dev process, allowing for faster and more reliable builds and deployments themselves. So just as we saw with IDEs, we've seen that broader impact of developer experience on DevOps in things like how we've deployed software, how things like infrastructure as code and developer efficiencies, and really so much more than just that. So thinking about what does a good DevOps kind of principles look like? It really kind of comes in that you have a good DevEX. That means you're facilitating smoother transitions between your dev and ops teams. You've minimized your bottlenecks with enhanced kind of collaboration. Your feedback loops, which are so important for developers as well as operations folks, to have that. And then the DevOps principles in enabling that. Helping the DevOps principles themselves can kind of take hold within the organization. If you don't have a good experience for your developers on the tools and the practices and the culture, then any way that you're trying to use these tools is just not going to happen. So DevOps at its core. I'll kind of define it here. I know we kind of talked about it earlier, but it is kind of this combination of practices and tools that are designed to increase an organization's ability to deliver applications and services, so it is both dev and ops, faster than traditional software development practices and processes that we've used before. So a few of kind of what these principles kind of look like when you put them in the frame of a good developer experience. Collaboration is very much a part of that principle. DevOps is very much culture over tools, culture and people over tools. And so that collaboration itself is really about creating an environment where those silos between the different teams are broken down. Cross-functional teams are empowered to work as a single unit and not as something that they're constantly battling against each other in some weird conspiracy. It is culture first, like I said, and then it's tools second. When DevOps and DevEX are aligned in their direction, we've enhanced that collaboration through those tools and processes, reducing a lot of the friction that comes up, and a lot of those barriers in the dev process. Enables teams to focus more on solving a lot of those business problems together, leading to a lot of innovative solutions and more harmonious kind of working environments. The backbone of DevOps itself is communication. You can't collaborate unless you're really communicating. And so, that really ensures that all the members of your development, operation, and even the broader teams across your organization are on the same page. And when we're improving that in communication, then we're able to see, we start to utilize platforms and tools that are helping us to streamline the sharing between, and the feedback, for those feedback loops across teams. That means things like your CI/CD pipelines, shared dashboards, automated alerting systems, ensuring that all team members have that visibility into the dev process really can help everyone easily share the updates and quickly address issues instead of having a system where it's all very siloed. You have things are now very streamlined together. And then the shared responsibility. And that in DevOps really means this collective accountability of, it's everybody is responsible for software's quality and reliability, really blurring that line between what it means to be in dev teams, what it means to be in the ops teams, kind of moving away from the old kind of that's not my job mentality, and I'm just going to do this, I'm going to throw it over the wall, and you go deal with it, I'm going to go do something else. It's really this, we're all in this together mentality where success and failure is shared equally across teams. So when we have that shared responsibility really in place, it does empower all team members with access to the tools and the information they need. By democratizing the access to those tools and information, DevEX really encourages a culture where everyone feels ownership of the product itself and is motivated to contribute to its success. Going to learn to talk a little bit better. Which is, contribute to its success. So when we've integrated these core kind of DevOps principles together, organizations can build a lot more cohesive, agile, effective teams that really are better equipped to meet a lot of the demands that we see within modern software development. All of the ways that we start getting pulled in so many different directions. When you have all of these principles and activities happening together, we really can be better equipped. It's not only really improving, though, the workflow and productivity, it's enhancing the overall quality of the software delivered, ultimately benefiting the end users themselves. So a robust developer experience really fosters a more integrated and efficient collaboration between development teams and your operations teams, and does highlight best practices for achieving that unity and efficiency. There's no better kind of way of probably expressing this than when we think about platform engineering over the last few years. Who here is in or be classified as being maybe in a platform engineering team? Or there is, one or two, there is one in your company, that there's a platform engineering team or a platform team. Okay, so obviously the one, if you're in it, there you go, hand up, okay. Who has heard of platform engineering? Let's go with that. Hey, okay, that's at least a few more. So rise of platform engineering really is this paradigm shift towards creating comprehensive integrated environments that are catering specifically to the needs of developers, focusing on abstracting away a lot of the complexities of the infrastructure and back-end systems that are out there, and allowing developers to concentrate on writing code and creating value, going back to kind of that developer productivity piece that Brew kind of talked about. Platform engineering embodies the principles of DevEX by ensuring developers have access that they need to robust, scalable, easy-to-use platforms so that they can streamline that dev process and reduce a lot of that setup time and allow for a focus on innovation rather than all the setup time, all the maintenance, removing a lot of the developer toil that we see in a lot of organizations. It's not about putting so much more effort back onto dev teams. It's actually trying to remove a lot of that toil away. So self-service platforms have embodied that evolution of DevEX by really empowering developers to independently provision resources, deploy apps, manage their life cycles without waiting for ops to kind of, you don't have to put a ticket in and wait for ops to get to it. You can actually go to a system. Who here has a system like they call them now an internal developer platform. There's like Backstage, there's Port, there's a number of them out there. These platforms really leverage a lot of the automation. They provide templates so that you can, if you need a resource, you can click it and you can get that resource immediately available. A whole lot simpler than having, all these different policies. You have some things that are already set in place with the governance and the guardrails, so that you don't have to wait for this, but you're given the API tool that you need or the API code immediately to be able to deploy your application. So when we brought this stuff together between the DevOps and the DevEX, we're seeing that you're going to have access to tools, processes that not only are streamlining the workflow, but also is facilitating kind of a smoother transition of code from development to production. And that alignment really is encouraging both teams to work closely from the outset of their project, sharing insights and feedback and responsibilities. All of that strengthens DevOps culture and practices. So some of these better practices, when we think about what it looks like to have a good developer experience within your teams, hopefully cross-functional teams, but within your teams, is that you're empowering them with the right tools that they need to do their jobs. So that's going to be things like support automation, collaboration, real-time communication. So choosing those right tools which are aligning with the DevEX and DevOps processes you already have in place. Get developers' input on the decision. Don't just choose tools willy-nilly and talk to your buddy down the street, find out what company he created last week and say, hey, we're going to start using that tool. Talk to your developers, find out what their needs are. Put in place a lot of cross-functional teams, encourage those. Have it so where your teams are communicating, they're all working together and they're all doing that whole process from start to finish for whatever that system might be. Also establish robust feedback mechanisms, put those in place, continuous learning and improvement, automate repetitive and manual tasks wherever possible. We as humans are really, really bad at repetitive tasks and manual tasks, so automate wherever you can. Ensure team members have the opportunities to grow and learn in their skill development. When we think about the impact that a good developer experience has on your organizations, that means you're seeing things like your streamlined development environments. We've talked about that. A couple people actually talked about here. We have IDEs, automation tools are in place. So that your tool chains, everything's automated where you can. You also have a lot of those platforms in place to help increase productivity, like Slack and others. And then morale. When your developers are empowered and have the autonomy to be able to make some choices and to not have to wait on others to get jobs, to get their work done, they're going to feel more empowered. That's where self-service portals come in. And having tools that are like using CI/CD platforms, those types of tools help to get the feedback on what's happening a whole lot quicker, which does allow for quicker feedback on developers' work, which can help for better recognition and achievement, reducing the frustration and burnout when you have tools that are working for you and not against you. And then learning and growth opportunities that happen is an important piece of DevEX. So the level of investment that your company has in DevEX really is a reflection of their values. And so having that strong focus on DevEX shows a commitment to employee well-being and efficiency. And then prioritizing that helps foster that culture of excellence and innovation. So with that, I'm going to leave you with this. Developer experience, probably a simplified way of thinking about it, is ruthlessly eliminating the barriers and the blockers that keep your developers from being successful. If you come away from anything, I think really hammer in on that point. And you can find me at a bunch of different places. The slides are at speaking.jmeiss.me, along with a bunch of other talks. But the slides are there. The video go up whenever that gets posted. And you can find me on these places. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. You'll find me around here tonight, and would love to chat with you about how you're, about developer experience. So, thank you.
let's give it up one more time for our incredible speakers today. Big round of